Hello, hi, good morning everyone. How are you all today? So I'm Jason Wong, your moderator for today's session. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule today on a Friday morning to join our webinar, and hope this webinar you'll be able to gain some valuable insights from the topic that we are going to discuss today. Today's webinar topic is remote HR. This is the third webinar on the same topic. Previously, we had actually conducted 2 previous webinar series on remote HR as well with different HR professionals. And this topic, as we are aware, ever since the pandemic started, HR professionals have faced various pain points, and this has accelerated technology adoption and digitalization in monitoring, engaging, or even tracking employees remotely, even when they are at home or in the office. So many workplaces have gone fully remote, changing the way HR operate within the workforce. Today, our distinguished speaker will be sharing the challenges on how to handle employee engagement through the lens of L&D and how cloud solutions can help for remote working. Next. So this webinar is actually organized by Synergy Outsourcing in Berhad. And this company is not just an ordinary payroll services provider, where its payroll service is actually powered by technology. So let me introduce our speakers for today. I am Jason Wong. I'm the moderator and also the director of Hunters International, where Hunters International is an integrated HR solutions company providing HR services such as recruitment, contingent workforce, training, HR outsourcing, HR consultancy, payroll, and HRS, among others. And today we are very glad that we are able to invite a very distinguished guest speaker. His name is Gideon Tan. Let me share a little bit about the background of Gideon, where Gideon is the current head of learning and competency development for Celcom Axiata, overseeing the overall L&D strategy and operations. So prior to joining Celcom in 2017, he held numerous HR leadership and advisory roles in various organizations. Gideon's professional experience spans across multiple various industries in different organizational setups. And in terms of his expertise, that includes organizational development, talent management, digital learning implementation, talent acquisition, employee engagement, succession planning, change management, and performance management. Yeah. So for this webinar, you will have the opportunity to submit your questions throughout the whole presentation. So you can actually please submit your questions via the Zoom chat box here, and we may attend to the questions at any time during the presentation, or even we will collect it first and we will ask these questions during the end of today's presentation. Yeah. All right, so let us start our webinar today. So how are you, Gideon? Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, good morning, Jason. Thank you for having me here. Thanks to the Hunters team.
Yes.
I'm good, all good. I hope you're well too, and I hope all our participants here today are not too adversely affected by the water disruption in Selangor State.
I'm not sure about the rest, but luckily I'm not too affected. I think hopefully today everyone has water in Selangor actually.
Okay. Well, we should, things to resume back to normal hopefully at least by Saturday, or if not Sunday.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
All right. So let me start by asking the first question. I mean, this is quite a common question among where most of the people will ask HR professionals, right? But today is for L&D. So what is the biggest challenge that you have faced in terms of from the L&D perspective in terms of the remote employees?
I think the challenges I face are not unique to my organization. I think it's quite a common challenge, and that is really about engagement during learning, because for the large part before the pandemic hit us, I think a lot of organizations, and including their management, tend to prefer having a very face-to-face environment where people can participate in trainings and have these Q&As and interaction. And the interaction quality which they perceive is usually better, right? Because you can have side conversations going on, you can have networking and things like that. But whereas if you're more on a remote platform, it tends to be very stick to the schedule. You know, that you don't have a site tracking a slot whereby, hey, let's network and things like that. You probably have to do that on your own free time and engage with the other participants. Now, I think with online, I think there's less side conversations, less networking opportunities, and the other thing is also we're not able to gauge the body language, because when we're in the classroom setting, you know, you can see how people are coping. Do they agree with you? Do they disagree with you? Do they actually understand you? You know, things like that. There are these non-verbal cues that you can pick up on, and then you can pace yourselves and you can manage that kind of scenario.
Exactly.
But then in the online setting, wow, that is really absent. You know.
I think especially the body language. So
exactly. I think apart from that, in the past, you could tell people to, you know, when you're in a classroom setting, hey, switch off your phones, you know, let's respect everybody's time, let's really focus on this. Whereas in a virtual environment, you know, the person could have turned off the video and they're doing their BAU and things are being distracted and all that. So that what that really has forced us to do is really to rethink and redesign the whole learning experience, and to not focus on the same old type of interaction and engagement, and expect to run the same type of face-to-face experience and just unplug that and plug it in the online channel, because that doesn't work at all. Really, it does not. So I think another challenge is on connectivity, because we know that it hinges to a large part on the individual subscription, the individual participants, right? Because we're all say we're working from home. I think if you're in the office, no issue, we're using the company bandwidth. But when you're at home, it depends on your own subscription. You could be part of a household that has a decent subscription, but if your son or your daughter has online schooling, your other son is online gaming, and you are having your web conference call with your colleagues, and these things tend to
there are certain disruptions.
Yes. So you get all this kind of disruptions and distractions that really take away your focus from the whole learning experience.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So this will be the main challenges that you have faced. So I think it still boils down to your preference as an L&D practitioner. It is still back to face-to-face rather than online.
I think it's really a combination of both, because I think it's a balance between, for now, it's a balance between safety and learning outcomes effectiveness. Because on one hand, we shouldn't have a face-to-face for the sake of having face-to-face, because that is slightly more of a luxury nowadays. Because when you think about it, if you were to comply with the SOPs and the social distancing, you'd need a much larger facility to host the same number of people. For example, if you have a training program that has 15 to 18 people, right, and you consider the social distancing requirements, your room size would be much larger. So what it means is that there's a drain on capacity as well. So you would not be able to hold as much programs simultaneously as you would in the past. Yeah.
So I think nowadays also, in order for you all to book a room, right, a few hundred people, probably not able to actually fill in everyone.
We would have to use our auditorium that can cater to, like, I think about 600 people, but of course, because of the social distancing, it will probably be less than half of that.
Okay, so it would be like a hybrid model nowadays in terms of for the L&D.
Exactly. So the learning has to be designed in such a way that there are pieces of social engagement, maybe a bit of face-to-face, a bit of online, a bit of virtual, a bit of gamification. Maybe you use apps, as fillers. So each of it has its own purpose to keep people interested, engaged, and participating. And at the same time, we try to meet the learning outcomes, as well as keeping tabs on people. Hey, how are you doing? Are you there yet? And then you throw in assessments and things like that, so that it keeps the learning journey interesting. Yeah.
Okay, get it. So my next question is, Celcom being one of the large telco conglomerate in Malaysia, right? So what kind of L&D tools that you all are using to engage with your employees during this period?
Celcom has a quite unique setup and structure. I think there are many ways in which people can learn. I think firstly, backtrack a bit on our philosophy. Basically, our philosophy is that we believe that everyone should have access to learning, whether they, and to choose to learn whatever they wish to learn, right, to make them productive. So it's not like, right, in some organizations, there's a very top-down approach, very formal setting. Hey, management mandate, you must go for that, mandatory, But for us, it's a combination of a bit of top-down, a bit of bottom up as well, right? So there's a bit of social learning, there's a bit of formal, things like that. So basically, employees can enroll in, I think the usual approach is the instructor-led programs that they can go for. They can enroll for webinars that we arrange. I think one of our webinars, we managed to simultaneously get about 1,277 participants.
Wow,
on
that's
the webinar.
for internal Celcom only.
Yeah, only for internal Celcom, only our employees. So it's not too bad. That was like easily almost 50% of the employee population. And of course, the webinar was on technology, was on 5G and things like that, to really get them to understand the technology and the use cases and things like that.
Right.
Now, apart from that, we also give them access to LinkedIn Learning. And so that's where they have access to like 16,000 plus formal courses and learning paths and things like that. And, if they can even publish their own certificates and, have these bragging rights and things. We also allow people to host or participate in discussion threads, whereby our platform allows them to, very much like a social media-like driven learning platform. So they can ask questions, they can create content, create their own user-generated content, put their own selfie videos, curate links, stitch things together and share, right? They can even create assessments and things like that. And it's all centered around communities, learning communities. So we have quite a number of communities. Now, communities can be based on your divisions, functions, departments, or people who have common interests. So then they get together and they share things that they know, and they curate things and they share amongst each other. Or it can be also something driven by the divisional leads or the heads. For example, if we wanted to have a sales academy, we will build that sales academy, we will populate it with all the product information, all the product developments and things like that, so that people have a resource that they can fall back on to equip themselves and have this knowledge at their fingertips so that they can deliver on their sales, their sales experience for their customers. So that's the diversity of the whole learning experience. It can be self-paced, it can be top-down, it can be, it's that flexible.
Great.
Yeah.
So now, in terms of the results during this, using all these tools and all that top-down, prior to the pandemic and currently, do you see any significance in terms of the results, in terms of probably in terms of the
Yes, I do. In fact, let me share something. Hold on, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Let me just share some slides. This is just some data.
Okay.
This is just some data that we compiled
right.
Pre and post MCO. I think firstly, to qualify that, I think a lot of organizations face similar experiences as well, whereby during the MCO, people started to flock toward their online channels for learning. So what happened was, basically for our platform, we went live in the middle of 2019 in May. And when we ran, for the first 6 months, it was very quiet, really was very quiet. And we spent a lot of time, a lot of energy trying to engage people and things like that. And the first 6 months was a lot of learning on the platform, finding out what people like, making some tweaks to the communities, curating content and things like that. So it wasn't as exciting, right? But as soon as the pandemic hit, I think people had very little choice but to flock to the online channels, the online options. And during that time, when the pandemic first hit, we started coming out with online content to help people manage their work-life balance or working from home experience. Things like how to use Teams, things like wellness, how to maintain your sanity, as you work from home and things like that. So I think that really received a lot of traction. And what you see here is the result of quite an interesting growth in terms of the numbers. Now I won't go through the detail, but let me show you what happened. Some of the things we did. This is just an overview. Now, if you look at the bottom of the graph, the x-axis, basically we started on 18 March in terms of, I'm using it as a reference because that's when our first MCO in Malaysia started.
Yeah, right.
So you'll notice even when MCO started, it was quiet at first. So what we did was we started to promote heavily, email blasts, we blast on Yammer. We created something that, this is the one where we wanted to focus people on some learning paths that relate to working from home, to help them get familiarized with some of the digital tools that we'll need to use in terms of the new ways of working and the new norms, right? So that started to build some traction. So we hit as high as 5,000 views in one particular day for some of this content. So over time, we kept reinforcing these offerings. We even came up with a blueprint for learning based on certain areas like certain future skills related content, as well as core functional skills for the business and things like that. Slowly, we found that as we spend more time on communication, on marketing, the numbers started to increase. And of course, sometimes when you blast out things like, hey guys, X number of people have completed, why not you, how you're left behind. So it's like kind of like FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out and being left behind. So that gets people to, hey, chase after the ball, things like that. And what we found really interesting is that when we started to introduce a limited edition certificate, something signed by our senior leaders or our CXOs, that really created the most traction. So that was quite interesting. So we had some gamification elements where we publicized a very attractive certificates which the team designed, right? So in the past, we never had such things. In the past, we had very, very dry certificates, very standard, very formal, but we decided just revamp the whole thing.
What kind of cert? Is it different type of the normal cert, or is it cert?
Well, it's actually digital. I think for companies wanting to implement this, right, it's actually no cost, right? It's actually your design time. You just need someone to be creative in visuals, create a really nice cert, get these electronic signatures on them, voila, okay, you're done. So it's really no cost, right? You PDF it and you send it to your learners, and they're very happy because they've got a document with maybe the CEO's signature or someone that they highly respect within the organization, and they somehow appreciate that.
Correct.
And that gets them to participate. So of course, as over time, we have different campaigns. We launch different learning plans, things like an agile boot camp, learning content, things, and on our learning blueprint. And of course, we had some content as well whereby it's top-down mandated, like a compliance-related code of conduct programs, and that also pushed the numbers up because, well, when the bosses say it's mandatory, I think everybody tends to flock to that. Yep. So that was our experience during the first 2.5 months to 3 months during the MCO.
Very, very impressive numbers. Looking at the pre and post COVID, plus the spike and excursion on the 15th of April here, probably because of the gamification and also the limited certs signed by the group CEO, group MD. Yeah.
So and such things are basically hardly cost anything. It's just design time. That's all. It's very easy to implement.
I think the convergence in terms of the more and more people are consuming the content online.
Yes.
You can see that it's very apparent now in terms of the numbers.
Even when it comes to limited edition, I think beyond that, we actually limit the number of certs. So what we say is that for the first 500 or the first 300 to complete this, we'll issue these certs. Or by this deadline, people who complete by say 31st December will issue this cert. Anything beyond that, we'll stop issuing. So that causes the rush. It causes the
kiasuism.
Yes,
I think it's still the kiasuism, and everyone collect as many certs as possible. So that they can actually show it to their potentially in the future, right? To collect all this. Okay, right. Thanks for sharing. So now, as we know that government is kind of like relaxing more and more, giving more flexibility now. It is like, even though we are still like some of them working from home, being remote at home or in other outside office, but we are going through the endemic phase now, right? So what do you see in terms of how does this new norm for L&D during this endemic may look like?
I think for this new norm, basically what has happened is this pandemic or endemic has just accelerated our emphasis or our reliance on technology for learning. So you can't run away; it's inevitable. And some of us just happen to be lucky that we've embraced it earlier than others. Whereas those who are slightly following the curve, I think it's a very good time to explore these solutions, because now more and more solutions out there are more accessible, or they hit the mainstream. So you'll be surprised because when I did my research in understanding some of these technology solutions, I was shocked by the cost involved as opposed to what they used to cost in the past, simply because they are more cloud driven or cloud based. Now, in terms of the future L&D environment, I believe what we're doing now will not change very much, but we will increase the reliance on digital tools and technologies and different apps. So what it means is that the whole learning experience, it is completely redesigned based on purpose. So it might have a bit of online, it might have a bit of physical. So it also depends on the nature of the program you're talking about. For example, if you wanted to have a program on emotional intelligence or presentation skills, I think some of this, if it involves role play, it's still better if you have it face to face. But if you have certain technical programs, right, I think virtual it's fine, because if you're just explaining theories and things like that. But of course, if you're talking about technical, where it deals with operations and maintenance of specific equipment or hardware, then you might need to bring the person to the site to have that immersion in terms of that real feel with the hands, the equipment and the hardware. So it really depends on the objective and the learning outcomes and the nature of the learning involved.
Understand. I think also one of the things that I have in mind in terms of L&D, right? Because probably most of the companies, when they think about L&D, only major companies, big companies would want to have this L&D department. And those smaller size or medium-sized companies, they might tend to actually neglect or ignore L&D because of probably they are very busy with their current operations and whatever not. Even during the pandemic, they might not think L&D as quite essential comparatively. So now with the emergence of digital technology and this all this going online, all that, what's your advice towards all these medium-sized, small, medium companies on how they can embrace technology and also prioritize L&D as one of the main key core function in order to grow their company?
Okay, two things here actually crossed my mind. I think the first is on being a valued partner to the business. You cannot run away from that. Technology aside first, right? Because L&D, yes, like as you rightfully pointed out, you tend to be viewed as, hey, you guys are the admin guys, we send for training, when I need for my guy, lack of motivation, sending for motivation training, hey, L&D, can you go and team him? There is that perception. But I think L&D needs to take a more proactive role in participating in the business and really understanding the front lines, what's going on. And really try to identify the root causes that is impacting performance, right? That needs to happen. You cannot run away from that. That's one thing. Secondly, I think with the emergence of the technologies that we have today, I think it really empowers L&D in such a way that they can use this technology to work with the business to provide them learning or information in the flow of their work. Meaning that, sometimes when you're doing the traditional learning, right, you send someone for an orientation, 3 days, 4 days, and then it's a crash course, and most of them come out, it's like, you'll be happy if they remember 20% of what they went through, right? And all the materials that you give them, they probably put it in their locker or their desk somewhere long forgotten. But the thing is this, imagine if all this information was put on a digital repository and made accessible at your fingertips as and when you need it. Because human beings is like that. I tend to remember things when I need it and I apply it, but not when it's there and you throw it at me and say, yeah, that's very nice, thank you very much, by the way, let's move on to the next thing. So it's really important that it's timely. So for example, for our case, right, when we have a learning community for sales, what we do is we put the product information there. What we can also do is we can push this to the mobile apps to make sure that the sales team have this timely information in terms of their product information, so that they're better equipped in terms of the sales. Now, what this also means is that from a social learning perspective, your top sales guy can actually teach what he does. Hey, this is how I sold this product, this is how I position, these are the challenges I face when I deal with this customer. Hey, come learn from me. I create my own digital content, I post it and upload, and everyone has access to it. And you imagine when people build on this momentum, then what outcome you get is eventually is consistency. Because if everybody has the same knowledge base, you rely on the same thing, and you sell the same way, right? I think that's really great, because one of the hiccups in terms of businesses is always inconsistent customer experience, discrepancy in knowledge and skills across the entire workforce facing the customers. So if you have a technological issue to help support that and bridge that gap, I think that will really make a lot of difference, and then you will see the impact on the business, and the business will love you. So
you point it very right. I mean, Gideon, you pointed out one point where most of the organizations, I mean, you point out like salesperson, the top performer, for example, it's more of a knowledge sharing basis.
Exactly.
How he actually able to become a top performer, and there's no not being selfish in terms of whatever that you know and you
Correct.
Why not those performers or whatever become let them share like a training platform, whatever, and share online or even in a depository or database, so that everyone can access to it and everyone learning from each other in terms of how they actually handle.
Exactly. Now, this is a common practice in some of the Fortune 500 companies actually.
Yep.
And it works very well, because you see, when it comes to learners, right? Number one is they like to learn from a familiar face. Okay. Number two, because I learn from a familiar face, there's context, right? I'm learning about something that someone has used within the organization. It's not something that's disconnected, theoretical, and very far, away from my current situation. Because a lot of times when you send someone for training, it doesn't completely address the learner's context, right? So they come back having to figure out, hey, how do I apply what I've learned and figure things out to make it work in my organization? Whereas if it came from internally, you were actually replicating what good looks like and getting it viral among the team, right? So, and guess what? The new guy that comes on board, if you put that as part of your onboarding, imagine how fast the person's learning curve will be, because I now have access to all these things, the right behaviors, the right knowledge and skills and things like that, and I put it into practice, and that will really make a difference. So it's about time to productivity, How do you get people productive in the shortest amount of time possible? Because we all know that new people, you come on board, it's like, first 2 weeks is like very non-productive, you get your IDs, you get your system set up, you get, things like that. But with technology, can you imagine the onboarding can happen before day one?
Exactly.
Exactly. So people become equipped, because sometimes, especially now, when a lot of people waiting for their jobs and the in-between jobs, they have a lot of idle time. So why not you feed them and prepare them so that when the minute they join you day one, they hit the ground running, right? Rather than you lose that 2 weeks of payroll to someone who's, hey, I'm not productive. I'm here to attend orientation, onboarding. This
is very problem, because we just had our internal discussion in Hunters regarding the onboarding, how to actually put everything online. Probably even the new joiner will be able to access some of the documents or some of the policies first beforehand. And once they're on the first day, they will know what to do really.
Exactly. So you get them set up. The first day, I think the first day, then your orientation can be cut down, because I know some companies have 2-week-long orientation. 2-week-long, really. I used to work for companies that had 4-day-long orientations. Some are 3 days, some are 4 days. So you imagine the amount of time spent in this orientation. Imagine if you have orientations where you have senior leaders speaking at it. Can you imagine how much time costs for each senior leader to speak?
I think the new joiners enjoy the 2 weeks orientation, because there's no need to actually work on first while enjoying the first 2 weeks.
It's also time cost, for the senior leaders.
Understand.
They need to make themselves available and things like that. But imagine if they recorded a video, they made it digital, right? Yeah. So the employees went through the onboarding, and then when day one they come, maybe they can just have a lunch with the senior leader, as opposed to the senior leader, so many, because I know I've been part of onboardings that have all the CXOs involved. You imagine their time cost, right?
I understand.
So I mean, all that could be redesigned in such a way where you have a digital experience followed by a face-to-face, maybe over a lunch, right? Just to welcome on board the person and things like that. So there are many things you can do.
Understand. Coming back to this topic, right? I think this is a very important topic also across the community in most of the companies now. Is as we mentioned, the digitalization, current digitalization, and also using cloud platform. And now in the market, there are a lot of SaaS-based or cloud solutions in terms of HR tools to engage, monitor, and track their employees. So may I know
Mm.
Is this the technology moving forward, and what's your take on this and the benefits of using this?
Yeah, actually, let me just share something.
Okay.
Basically, the solution that we are on is actually a cloud-based solution.
All right.
Yeah. So we actually, a lot of solutions at Celcom is very much cloud-driven, and for our learning one is also cloud-based. And really, I think technology aside, I think the first thing we need to think about is the use case, because a lot of organizations, when we think whether to have something client hosted, right, or on the cloud, we always think about security. You know, we just think about a control over the physical environment of the infrastructure and things like that. But really, I think when you go cloud, it's starting to make a lot more sense now, because it's becoming more mainstream, more affordable, because SaaS solutions tend to be very subscription based. So what it does is it breaks the cost down into more manageable, I think, in terms of affordability lah, right? The other thing is speed of implementation, because for my learning, for my experience, there were a lot of things I could do by myself, and I went live really fast because I didn't have to deal with any hardware infrastructure. We didn't have to buy any servers. I had even minimal IT involvement, you know, to actually roll out my solution. And the other thing about cloud is that you cross-pollination of use case, because when you buy a cloud solution, that solution is currently being used by maybe hundreds or thousands of our other organizations. And what happens is that sometimes some of the solutions that I've been, we are part of a larger community whereby users from a different company share stories about how they are using the platform. Then we get these ideas and we learn from them, and then we also share our ideas. So this cloud also allows this cross-pollination of knowledge base and use cases, so that we can more innovatively use the platform for our own purposes, learning from other customers that have already used it. I think security-wise, it's becoming better, right? Because some of these cloud solutions, I think, you know, they are hosted on things like Amazon Web Services and things like that. And they're very secure and very, I think, a lot more safer than us having our own physical servers in some site where we need to plan for disaster recovery and have like 3-4 sites and things like that. But I think you go cloud, you don't even think about that, because that headache is taken away, right? The other thing is the customer experience. From what I have experienced, basically it's a lot shorter in terms of learning curve, and it's a lot easier, because I find that I can be a lot more independent, because the tools that come out of cloud, because it's not too complicated, it's built in such a way that it's so easy to maneuver, to use, to maintain, and you know, it's just great lah, the experience lah. Of course, lastly is about the upgrading. Now in a client hosted environment, I think when you do too much customization to fit your process, the vendor will always tell you this: sorry guys, it's going to be tough to upgrade your system, because we have made so many tweaks, so many upgrades, to a point that it no longer resembles what we sell originally. So it's tough for us to upgrade unless you revert back to your original, vanilla version. Right? But when you're cloud, you are using what everyone else uses. So all the comments and the feedback that goes to the vendor, right, will be taken into consideration and implemented in the next product lifecycle revision. So you see more and more features keep coming on, but you pay the same amount, you know, but your product keep growing, you know, and it goes based on, it goes on best practices that is injected by the different clients that are giving their feedback and things like that. So it's very, very, very important to think about all these considerations. The other thing is also about scalability, because if it's client hosted, you tend to size your capacity for X amount, but what if there's sudden surge in growth or sudden drop in utilization? Then you find that, hey, I have excess hardware, or I have shortage. I didn't plan for it, you know, and the scalability is not there. Whereas cloud, you can upscale, you can downscale, you know, based on your contract term and things like that. So it's very important to have that flexibility.
Right. I think there is a general misconception as well. I mean, when we talk about cloud or servers, right, or even infrastructure to have this cloud, a lot of companies will be thinking that investment, to spend money and all that, not knowing that now it is kind of affordable to be on cloud. My last question is how to educate these owners how to embrace digitalization and to go to cloud.
I think probably one of your greatest barriers would be the IT department, you know. No, seriously, because I think you have to start small. You have to start somewhere, maybe by trial or by what. Because the IT department is so some if they're more, the traditional ones tend to be more resistant towards cloud. They tend to believe that, hey, I must have my client hosted, you know, servers. I must maintain myself, all that. But then again, then they will complain, oh, I need so many man hours, so many people to maintain this infrastructure and all that. And you know, there's uptime, downtime, and you know, sometimes even on weekends when you have uptime, downtime, you know, who's there to serve you? So if you have something that is managed at the cloud, at least you have the vendor to take care of the whole thing. So I think that's the first thing. Secondly is, again, I think don't look at it from a cloud or client hosted, look at it from a business solution. Because if you can tell the business that I can help you, right, launch this solution which creates this value in this amount of time, does that make sense?
Okay.
Right? Does that sound great? You know, and start small. I mean, if they're worried, you know, maybe do a pilot. You know, do a pilot with 100 employees, maybe, right? Do a pilot for a few months. You know, just give it a trial run. Because that's what I did basically. I did a pilot. And when things work well, I think it just means that when we wanted to go live, we just had to scale upwards. That's it. Because when we did the pilot entails all the groundwork we needed to do, right? And the proof of concept. And once you've seen the results, we got feedback from the floor in terms of the user experience, what people like to see, how they like to see it, in terms of the UI, UX, things like that, you know. So then from there, we tweaked it and we just went live. So it was kind of like a natural progression.
Okay. So thanks, Gideon. So we will come back to you again in terms of the Q&A session.
Sure.
So thank you very much for your sharing. It's very helpful in terms of understanding the current trend in L&D and also in terms of our cloud solutions. All right, next up, I would like to introduce our next speaker, James Wong, who is the Synergy Outsourcing lead application and implementation. He will share how Synergy Malaysia will be able to provide technological HR solutions to various companies with cloud platform, and why the company is not just another ordinary payroll services company. All right. So without further ado, over to you, James. James, your mic.
Thank you, Jason. So as Jason has mentioned, I'm James from Synergy Malaysia. So today I will be sharing a little about Synergy Malaysia as a payroll outsourcing company. We provide payroll services powered by technology. So a quick glance on what Synergy is about. We have over 20 years of industry experience with over 2,000 companies as our clients with 1.2 million daily users. Now, our solution is used in over 6 countries across the APAC region, and it caters for multi-languages, multi-companies, multiple countries and multiple time zones and currencies as well. Here are some of our regional partners, including brand names such as Huawei, Samsung, and also DHL. Our clients are able to rely on us without any worries to data security because we are also ISO 9001 and ISO 27001 certified, and we are PDPA and GDPR certified. On top of this, our solutions has been voted the top HC HR solution in 3 years in a row from 2016 through to 2018. Now, why Synergy Outsourcing is not just an ordinary payroll services company? Here's a few things that makes us more unique. So first of all, we provide a full suite end-to-end payroll solutions. This is completely cloud-based. That means, on top of, being able to access your data and, your payroll anywhere, anytime, it also comes with very innovative features for you to work smarter, not harder. On top of this, being cloud service, as Gideon mentioned, you can access it from anytime, anywhere with zero downtime. So even during the weekends, if you need to access it, you will be able to, at your fingertips, through your phone, through your computer, you can access your data. Moreover, as mentioned, it's very important to efficiently use your HR budget, HR and payroll budget. So we are currently providing our services at a very competitive pricing. On top of this, as mentioned, you don't need to invest anything in hardware investment because our cloud services are completely hosted by ourselves. And last but not least, we are a very customizable solution, which means that we will ensure that all the solutions we provide to you are tailor-made and comprehensive enough to ensure that the system is working for you. Now, how do we assist companies in payroll? First and foremost, the most important thing, we will always provide consultation in the form of ensuring that our clients are in complete compliance with, statutory bodies, LHDN, to make sure, everything is up to date and, is on the level with Employment Act. On top of this, we also provide, consultations on how you can better digitalize your HR and payroll processes to make it much more efficient. Next, we also provide disbursement services. That means that we can actually help companies to disburse your salary. And our solution includes a mobile application, which means that employees can now access their payslips, pay forms like CP21s, all through the mobile without having to go to the HR physically. Of course, as a payroll outsourcing company, we ensure that all your statutory and payroll transaction payments are calculated accurately on a monthly basis. And with payroll transactions comes your payroll reports such as journal reports, variance reports, year-end reporting report, all this. Everything is included in our services as well. Now, what do we mean by powered by technology is, as I mentioned, we actually have three major components in our solution, which is our payroll services, our HRIS solution, and mobile ESS. Okay, now for HRIS, it's a web-based solution with multiple modules, including the company and employee data management, where you can organize, your organization charts, your company policies, your announcements. The payroll module, which includes payroll calculation and management, Malaysia tax reporting and statutory reportings, time and attendance management, where you can actually manage your employees' attendance, their leaves, their overtimes, their schedules, and claims and expenses, where you can manage your company's claims and your employees' claim management. On top of this, we also provide talent management modules, which allows your management to apply for trainings and also assign employees to trainings as well. Performance management, which helps to maintain the KPI of the employees, and the recruitment module, which allows you to post your job openings to find the perfect candidate. Now, the next thing is a mobile ESS application. This is available to all your employees with very unique features such as facial recognition for attendance, live chat for internal discussions, company news feeds where you can broadcast your employees, your company's announcements, and also employee events, employee geotagging where you can keep track of employees who are off-site or whether they are on-site, e-payslip, e-attendance, e-leave, and numerous other modules. So here is a short video on the mobile application.
Do your employees work from home? Let's maximize employee productivity using Grade HR. Equipped with face recognition technology, employees record their attendance from home. With the latest technology Cloudbased HRIS, you can manage employee information directly, wherever and whenever. One key to success in a company is communication. Grade HR ensures the communication flow between employees runs well, even without face-to-face meeting. Not only monitors attendance, you can also monitor the performance of each team member directly through Grade HR mobile apps. You can assign your employees, monitor progress, and provide feedbacks of their work. Team members can also share their work achievements and progress on Grade HR internal social media. With Grade HR, work becomes easier and remains connected anytime and anywhere. Grade HR, do something great every day.
Okay, so that's the video. Oh, sorry. So now I will do a quick live mobile app demonstration for the Grade HR mobile app. So this is actually the web browser view, because being a fully integrated and a full suite system, this is actually accessible in both the employee's mobile application and also through the web browser. So here you can actually see a large number of modules that employees can use. So first of all, you can easily engage with your employees, because you can broadcast your company's policies and your company's example, like over here, work from home policy, data protection act, and also you can broadcast any announcements you have for your company. On top of this, one of the features that you might have seen in the video was the activity recording. There's actually a very unique feature that is very commonly used by our clients. So what happens is managers are able to assign tasks. So, like example, using this account, I'm assigning a task to Michelle, saying that she needs to, as the IT manager, she needs to fix server issues, and Michelle will be able to post a screenshot or a video of what she is doing to fix the solution, fix the issue. So once that is done, the manager is then able to monitor the task assigned, and also basically give a feedback on this. So you can use like give 4 stars here. So great job, Michelle, and submit it to the employee. So not only will this provide good employee engagement and feedback, and you can even share this on the company wall. So this is built like a feed, like on your Facebook, so you can actually see when employees have done a very good job. Moreover, a lot of our managers, what they do is they use this function for their KPI calculations later to show what has been done by the employee, to see the overall turnaround time of tasks. Now, other than this, for Grade A, you can actually go to the claims page. So you have e-claims, you can use e-claims here. You also have e-leave, so employees can now do claims requests and leave requests through the mobile app. Okay, and of course you have your live chat, so you have your internal discussions. Everything is localized inside this app, so you can manage your internal discussions here. Okay, so I think that's the general idea of the mobile app. Okay, let me reshare the slides. Okay, so currently, right now, to summarize what services Synergy provides, first of all, we provide payroll outsourcing services, payroll consultancy to ensure that your payroll is completely on the level with compliances and also statutory boards. We will provide HRS setup. That means to ensure that the solution is completely tailor-made and working for your company, and your employees will gain access to ESS mobile app and much more services. So all this at your fingertips for only 30 ringgit. Because we are currently running a promotion, a 333 exclusive promotion, which is 30 ringgit per user, 3,000 ringgit one-time implementation fee that comes with a promise that your system will launch from kickoff to live in 30 days. So if anybody have any further questions, please feel free to contact me at james.wang@synergyoutsourcing.com. Thank you so much.